Hey, welcome to another edition of Local Focus. I'm your host, Sebastian Noel. Welcome to the Proview Network studios here in Albuquerque. First of all, some business to take care of off the top. I want to congratulate El Dorado Eagle Zach Gentry. He got drafted this past weekend by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was kind of hoping my Green Bay Packers would maybe draft him, but no, we got the kid that scored an 8 on the Wonderlic test, but we won't go there. So congratulations to Zach. And a bunch of my old guests have committed and signed their letters, and they've decided where they're going to be playing collegiate sports, so that's exciting. DeMarcus Sutphin going to be heading out to Phoenix. Last week's guest, of course, Lucas Jordan. He'll be heading out to Chicago. Amaya Brown, she's recovering from her injury. She's all over Florida State's media guide and advertisements, so I know they're expecting a huge bounce back year from her. So that's pretty exciting to see all the Team Local Focus guests and see what they're doing. Also, as we head forward towards the summer and the end of the prep calendar is near, hey, we want to keep the show going, so if you have any show ideas or guest ideas, you can tweet us at Proview TV or at Sebastian Noel 47. Let us know. If there's an interesting story out there that we haven't found yet or that we haven't spotlighted yet, we sure would love to. But a real interesting story and a real interesting guest is my guest this week, and that's professional boxer Josh Pitbull Torres. Josh, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So before we get into boxing and all that, I want to get into kind of your upbringing and your childhood. It's a familiar story that started here in Albuquerque, but tell us about it.
Yeah, I was raised in the South Valley, went to Rio Grande High School, graduated from there. Grew up playing multiple sports, played a little bit of basketball, a little bit of football, but it wasn't until I walked into a boxing gym when I really found my passion.
And when does it change from, just, hey, I want to fight, or I'm at school and I'm kicking guys' asses, to I want to train. I want to train in the sweet science. When did that kind of transformation happen?
It happened probably a few months into training when I had started, taking up the sport. Took some L's in the boxing ring, as an amateur, got my butt kicked a few times in sparring, and then the more I grew and the more I started to learn about boxing, the more I fell in love with it.
So when did that dedication and that all-in really, when did it start? If you had to pinpoint a grade or age, when would you say that was?
To be honest, probably not till I was a little bit older. I wasn't till I was about maybe 19 or 20 when I really started dialing in on what needed to be done to have a successful boxing career. And especially when I knew I was going to have my first son, got together with my now wife, is really when life started to change for me. I got a little bit more motivated, had a little more reason to box, and that's really when I took it up a notch.
And since you mentioned it, what goes into that? What is all the dedication? What are all the sacrifices you have to make?
Well, you have to dedicate a lot of time, first of all, a lot of training, a lot of mental preparation. You have to diet. You have to, stay away from a lot of family functions. You can miss out a lot on a lot of get-togethers. Staying away from all the good food is hard, of course, especially when you work across from the Barelas Coffee House. It's real tough smelling the chicharrones every morning. So it's tough. But, when you're in that ring and your hand is raised in victory, it makes it all worth it.
So that when you were younger, maybe did you take some of those things for granted? Are they harder now? I mean, do you have to be more disciplined now as you've gotten older, where things maybe came real easy to you as you were young, but now there's really no margin for error?
I think it's always been hard, to be honest. It's always been a challenge. But now now I see it all, how it played out, and I see that everything that I've done throughout the years has been worth it. Looking back at, growing up and stuff, it really wasn't that hard. It's been a pretty smooth process throughout the way.
Were there any hiccups in the way? I mean, you said it was a smooth process, but surely there had to be some trying times where you're like, man, am I making the right decision here? What were some hiccups in the way?
Yeah, there's been a lot of hiccups, a lot of times where I was close to even, hanging up the gloves. I felt discouraged. I felt a little burnt out. Maybe times that I feel like, maybe I should just try something else. But something inside of me told me not to quit. I actually had one of my best friends pass away when we were about 19 years old, got killed in a drive-by shooting. And something he always told me when he was alive was, you better stick with boxing. Because there was conversations we had, and he would tell me, you're known as the pit bull. Don't give up. Because there was times when I was telling him, man, I don't know if I want to do this much longer. It's hard. As we mentioned earlier, all the dedication that goes into it. I was a little burnt out, and he said, if I know one thing, it's that you're a fighter, and you need to keep fighting. And that voice has stayed with me along the way. It's pushed me through times I wanted to quit. And man, thank God I didn't quit when I wanted to, because I would have missed out on so much. I feel like I've been blessed with so many opportunities in my career throughout the way, and I can only imagine, what God has in store for the future. So I'm excited.
Why do guys quit?
Probably because it's hard. It's hard. But, it's like they say, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Right.
And I'm just lucky and blessed to be one of the few that have stuck with it throughout the years.
Do you think here, especially locally, if you had advice to young fighters that are going through that same thing, probably, hey, is this going to be for me? Do I need to think of something else? I mean, what do you tell them if those guys go up to you, if they're in the barber chair or they're with you and they're looking for advice? What would you tell them?
One thing I try to tell a lot of young kids growing up is to believe in yourself, to believe in your talents and things that God has gifted you with. And they're not all the same. Some people have different talents, different skills, but I think that it's something that you'll know within you. If you're a fighter and you feel like giving up and you don't feel that hunger to move forward, maybe fighting isn't for you. Maybe it's something else that you need to give a try. But whatever it is that you feel you're good at and you're skilled at, you need to believe in your craft enough to pursue it.
Now, is there one thing I've always wondered, is there a difference between the time you're actually training for a fight and then your rest of the year-round training? What's the difference there?
The difference is probably just the intensity of the training, for sure. A lot of the dieting.
Like Josh and I can leave the studio and we can go get a steak and a beer right after the show, right?
Yeah.
Can you ever do that? Do you only do that when you're not in fight prep mode? Do you do that during your regular time? When does Josh just get to go have a steak and a beer?
Well, I can go have a steak whenever I want,
Okay,
whether I'm
right.
training or not, because when you train hard enough, you can treat yourself to good meals every once in a while. Of course, you can't splurge on, burgers and fries, 5 or 6 days a week. But I do treat myself to, an outside meal once in a while. But as far as the beer, I try to stay away from that. I haven't drinking in over 5-6 years. I feel that's helped me in my training, in between fights, like you mentioned. One of the biggest differences is just the intensity. When we're training for a fight, it's waking up at 5 in the morning, running before the sun comes up, going to work, getting home, training, eating a good dinner, and then resting. As opposed to in between fights, we get to relax a little bit more, maybe skip, running, run here and there, eat what we want when we want to. So there's a big difference in training.
So it's not as glorious as Floyd Mayweather makes it seem on his Twitter, right? Where he's just out gambling and dropping money, and it's not like that, is it?
We don't all have that lifestyle, no, unfortunately.
We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll talk more about that lifestyle. We'll talk about your family life and some stuff away from the ring with the Pitbull, Josh Torres.
What is glamour? Frailty. What is desire? Diamonds. They say a life lived without passion is hardly worth living.
Ma'am? Ma'am? Ma'am?
Dang, this one made me feel all special.
High school sports are back. The 2018-19 season kicks off, and you could watch every Proview Network broadcast live on the NFHS network. Every moment, from every game, from every sport, including all NMAA state championships. Get your highly discounted monthly pass now. Go to ProviewNetworks.com and sign up. Watch New Mexico's best. The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game. Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
All right, we're back with Josh Pitbull Torres. We want to talk about Josh a little bit away from the ring. And you mentioned family life. We got some pictures of your family that our director Josh will throw up there, and you can tell us about those when they come up on the screen. But so there's your family there. Tell us about that.
Yes, this is my oldest son at his school, Legacy Academy, receiving one of his awards. He's an honor roll student, thank God. My baby next to him, Princeton, he's our youngest. He's 2 now. And being held by my lovely wife, Ariana Torres.
Josh, you have some more in there, right, I think? Take us through this here.
There's me and my oldest. We're in our home boxing gym, just wrapping him up. He loves to train with us. Doesn't compete yet, but he's fell in love with the sport as well. Trains with us pretty much every day. There's him again, holding my WBC US title. I believe that was at Expo Explosion 2.
So let me ask you this: are you gonna the way your parents were hesitant about boxing? Are you one of those that are like, okay, if you want to do this, or are you gonna want them to be cautious? Where's your mindset at? Both of you guys, from a parenting standpoint, where are you guys at?
I'm probably more cautious and more hesitant than my mom was, actually, because I know how hard and how brutal the sport can be. But I've seen the passion that he has for it at a young age, and it reminds me of a younger me. And if it's something that he really wants to do, I'll support him. But I sure am going to make it tough for him. That way, if he doesn't quit, and he's sure meant to, box.
Now, you mentioned earlier that one of the biggest sacrifices is time away from your family. Talk about that. I mean, what are some of the things you have regrets? What are some things you've missed in maybe their upbringing because of boxing?
As I get older and realize things, I don't regret anything. I feel like all the dedications and the things that I've put into my sport and my career have been worth it. I feel like, those family get-togethers and barbecues, I mean, those will always be there. Of course, we don't always have our loved ones with us, but we make the most of what we got. Right. And I think everybody in my life and everyone around me supports it, and they understand. They know why I'm doing it. They know that I'm not just missing out on things for no reason. So it's all been worth it to me.
So let's say you're preparing for a fight. Take us through your average day. You said you start training at 5 in the morning. So when we just saw your lovely family, you're preparing for a fight. When do you actually see them? What parts of the day?
Well, as I mentioned, we have our home boxing gym. So thank God I've been blessed enough to be able to create my own gym, my own environment in my home. So when I get home and I start training, then they're there with me from there on out. So I'm very lucky to have them there with me. It's definitely motivating. Makes me train even harder knowing that they're right there watching me. Got my little ones training right beside me, and it just makes me push myself a little harder.
Right. So let's talk about the boxing scene here in New Mexico a little bit. What was it like when you started compared to where it is now, you think?
I feel like I've seen a lot of highs and a lot of lows in the sport locally. When I first turned pro, local boxing was real big. And I feel like throughout the years it died out a little bit, but I feel right now it's rising again, and thank God for Legacy Promotions. I feel like they've relit that fire in a lot of the fans, and created a desire for the fans to come out, not just for boxing and supporting locals, but more for an event to come out and have a good time. And I feel like that's what we're creating, an environment for the family to come out and have a great time.
And why is it, do you think, that boxing kind of died? Was it the rise of mixed martial arts? What do you attribute to boxing kind of hitting that lull here in Albuquerque?
I think MMA had a lot to do with it. That's when MMA was at its peak, and at that time a lot of people thought it was going to take over and there'd be no more boxing. But I feel like boxing, as old school as it is, has always found its way, and I think it's coming up again now.
You know, at times I've had a chance to sit down with Teresa Tapia and to hear her tell a story about the old Romero and Tapia days and buildings overflowing with fans. And, you know, will we get back to that in New Mexico ever, do you think?
I really hope so. I know that we'll never have Johnny and Danny Romero again because
And what made that so special for our younger viewers? And what made that whole atmosphere, that rivalry, what made it so special?
to be honest, I think you just have to be in that moment to really understand it. I think it's something they felt within each other and the grudge they had. And I feel like, you know, that world title at stake, just everything that was involved made that fight what it was. And I feel like that is possible in the future. But when it does happen, it'll be a different kind of fight. You know, it'll be its own event in itself.
All right. Talk about Legacy Boxing. Obviously, they've done a great job with bringing boxing not only back to the forefront, but to television here on Proview Networks. Just talk about the growth from event 1 to your last fight.
Well, as we said, you know, it's growing. More and more people are starting to come out. The quality of fights are getting better. We're bringing in better competition. So the fight fans are really getting their money's worth. We know that as fighters and as promoters that, you know, nowadays it's not easy to go out and, you know, spend a few $100 on the family like it's nothing. So we definitely want to make sure that it's worthy and that they're getting their money's worth.
I got to say that it's always, they're getting their money's worth when you're in the main event, that's for sure. And then we kind of talked about this during the break a little bit, but that main event with Cabral that you had, again, I'm a casual boxing fan. I'm not going to ever claim to be an expert like Austin Colleen or Ed Nunez, right? I don't go to every fight. I don't watch anything to the extent. But as a casual fan, that's by far the best local fight I've seen. What made that such a good fight?
I think it had some hints of Romero and Tapia in it. You know, there was a little grudge there at one point. You know, we had shared some words and we're supposed to have fought, you know, a couple years back.
Right.
So it was just brewing for a while. So the local fans really wanted to see it. And man, was it a fight. And
it was a fight. There was no dancing.
Absolutely.
You guys just didn't stop swinging.
Yeah, he
right?
brought it, I brought it, and the fans loved it. The electricity in that building was crazy, something I haven't felt in a long time, and I'm just very blessed to have been able to bring that kind of event to my city, and hopefully there'll be more in the future.
Toughest fight you've fought as a professional? What would you say was the toughest fight you've had?
I've had a handful. I mean,
Okay.
as you guys
You wanna
know,
go through some of them?
I have 6 losses in my career, so I've had some tough fights, and even some of my wins have been tough. I think every fight is tough in its own way. I think that more so than the fights, the training is hard, just the preparation. But it's what we do. We're fighters, and we keep moving forward.
All right. Well, we're gonna take another time out here, and then we'll go into some of those, some of the highs and lows as far as fights are concerned in your career, and we'll talk about what's next with Josh Pitbull Torres.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 10,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club, or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all, or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Back with Josh Pitbull Torres. All right, we left off with some highlights and lowlights, and let's move past the lowlights and get to some of the highlights. Highlights of your career, if you had to pick a few, what fights are they?
One of them would probably be when I won my first WBC US title at the Convention Center. I fought heavy-handed Ronnie Ganoy. This was one of those fights that was similar to me and Christian. It was a local event that a lot of people wanted to see, a lot of people were excited for. We had a great turnout, so that was definitely one of the highs. Another one would be when I was fighting Mike Alvarado, former world champion from Denver, Colorado, when I fought him out in Dallas, Texas. And another highlight of my career is a fight that fell through that we're real close to having, was against former world champion Super Zab Judah. That was supposed to happen in Las Vegas. We actually were out there the day the weigh-in happened, and they canceled the fight. So it was a bummer the way it worked out, but it was definitely an exciting point in my career.
So that actually brings perfect segue to my next question, is what is next? You know, these obviously we're spoiled. We have you fighting here locally, but most fighters, I would imagine, want to be fighting in Las Vegas. And so what's next?
Well, we got one fight coming up now locally, July 20th. We'll be fighting at the Tingley Coliseum for another WBC title. And then after that, of course, we're hoping the big fights come. We already captured the city, putting on great shows here for the locals, and I love it, but I'm itching for more. I'm hungry for more. I want to start breaking into the TV fights and getting those big names on my resume, and hopefully break out soon.
And you see, does that require you altering your business strategy in any way? I mean, we see Alacancito has taken some out-of-state fights now, right? I mean, is that a goal in the back of your mind? Hey, I want to get maybe, do I want to go to Golden Boy? Do I want to go to Top Rank? Tell the business world of boxing. Talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely the goal, is to hopefully have a big promoter ink us down, or even just give us the opportunity to fight on one of their cards. And I guarantee that once they put me on TV again and put me up against one of their guys, they'll know that I'm a TV fighter, and hopefully they'll want me back again.
And you mentioned TV fighter. Who are some TV fighters out there right now? I'm so glad you brought that up, because for me, as the casual fan, the guy I can't miss, the guy I'll cancel something for, is Lomachenko.
Yeah, he's
so
great.
Who are some TV fighters? Why do you, and tell me why you enjoy them?
One of the best out there right now is Errol Spence. He's a great TV fighter because he's aggressive. He's a hard-hitting southpaw. Great amateur background, great pedigree, so he's definitely one of them. Terrence Crawford is another knockout artist, taking out a lot of guys. Another good TV fighter is Sean Porter. He always brings it. He's a pressure fighter. He's always aggressive in these dog-style fights. So those are a few, just to name, some of them. But there's a lot of great fighters that are up and coming, and hopefully soon we'll be, named amongst those ones.
Back to away from the ring. We run into each other at gladiator games a few times. Are you starting to, and I know you talked to our president, Steve Davis, about it a little bit, but are you starting to, you go around town and you're very recognized now. So you go to gladiator games. I see people come up to you a lot. I mean, that's got to be pretty special where you're, you've kind of the top of that level. Actually, here with some pictures. And we'll talk about this in a moment, Josh, actually. But first, I mean, what is it like to, everywhere you go now, hey, people want an autograph, people want to get a quick word in with the champ. That's got to be pretty cool at Gladiator games, right?
It's a great feeling, yeah. And speaking of the Gladiators, I like coming out and supporting anything local. And the Gladiators, if you haven't been to one of their games, it's something to see. It's a lot of fun. It's a great event for the family. But yeah, just being in those kind of environments, being around people that are out having a good time and them recognizing me, it just feels great. Like we mentioned earlier, just a reminder that all the hard work that I've been putting in is paid off. And there's a meme that goes around on internet that says, work hard enough to where you don't have to introduce yourself. And I feel like I'm pretty close to that. And it's pretty satisfying, man.
Right. I think you're there, man. Throw that picture back up there, Josh, if you can. Tell us about this. I ran across this. So this is pretty cool, too.
Yeah, that's an event that we did this past weekend. It was a Christian ministry. I actually performed one of my songs. For those that don't know, I do make music every once in a while. Don't have the time like I would like to make more, but I performed one of my singles that I have called Way Up. I opened up for an artist by the name of Brian T. He's with Kingdom Music, who are pretty well known in the Christian ministry. So this is me praying over the crowd right here. I'm just a boxer who likes to do a little bit more than fighting. I like to, do a lot more to inspire people outside of the ring. Of course, fighting's always fun, but I want to be remembered by who I am as a person, not who I was as a fighter in the ring.
And is that why you're so popular in town? I think is because you have layers to you, right? There's Josh the Fighter. We saw what you did there with the song and the Christianity. Obviously, you believe in your faith heavily. We have some pictures of you in your shop as well. I think at your barber shop. I mean, is that part of your popularity? Is that there's so many layers to you?
I think so, and I think that people see, that is genuine. They feel like I'm a real person in that ring. And when I fight, I leave it all in the ring, and I feel like they see that. I feel like they know that I'm fighting for something more than just the victory in the ring. I feel like they know that I'm fighting for them and fighting for a better cause.
I'm obviously way past doing anything with this, right? There's nothing growing up top here. And our director, Josh, obviously doesn't care because he's got a messy salad on his chin and then the long hair. Is there anything you can do for him? I mean, where's your shop at, first of all, and what can you do for him?
For those that don't know, I'm at Jake's 4th Street Barbershop in the Barelas neighborhood. It's 1423 4th Street Southwest. Come and see me.
And what can you do with Josh? I mean, look at him. I know it's hard, but
there's not a lot of hope there, Josh. I give him a buzz cut at the best.
All right, your next fight, let's go one more time. What's the date of that?
It's going to be July 20th. We're fighting for another WBC title. It's going to be at the Tingley Coliseum. I'm very excited to come out to this venue. Like we mentioned earlier, I was there, a few times watching the Gladiators play, and at that moment, I knew that we would have success at that arena. And long behold, little did I know I'd end up fighting there this year. So I'm very excited to put on a great performance at that arena.
And the last question, what does a boxer do after they retire? What's the boxing afterlife? Have you thought about it? What is it?
I don't know yet. Maybe promote, maybe train. I mentioned I have my home gym, so I'll definitely keep training, my little group of guys that I have right now. But who knows? Maybe God even has bigger plans for me than that. Just have to wait and take it one season at a time.
All right. That's going to kind of wrap it up this week, but I want to make sure you guys get out to Josh's next fight. I've never, ever led you astray. I told you Amaya Brown was going D1. It happened. I told you DeMarcus was going to play at the next level. It happened. Told you about Lucas Jordan, and now I'm telling you got to see this guy fight. This guy, if I wasn't one of those cheap media guys and had my media credentials, I would pay to see this guy fight. His main events are that exciting. Thanks a lot, Josh.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
What is glamour? Frailty. What is desire? Diamonds. They say a life lived without passion is hardly worth living.
Ma'am? Ma'am? Ma'am?
Dang, this one made me feel all special.